Welcome to this weekly video and thanks for joining us. Last week I managed to fill my second large sack of paper to recycle since I've been here. I don't know how many words that represents, but it seems a lot for just over 3 months residence. My life seems to be filled with meetings, all of them valuable in their own way, at least most of them, but they do require a lot of pre-reading. I do ask the question whether we need all these documents. Is there some way of distilling the essence of things and focusing ourselves on the goal and bigger vision? Karl Barth was one of the greatest theologians of the 20th century. He wrote over 100 books and articles, there was a lot of repetition, and has been the subject of numerous PhD theses. On a lecture tour of America in 1962, he was asked the same question at numerous venues. Can you sum up the gospel in one sentence? His reply was consistent. Jesus loves me, this I know, for the Bible tells me so, and I learnt that on my mother's knee. Quite a contrast from a lecture I heard from a now deceased bishop 30 years ago. Asked the same question, his response was ontological ultimacy, eschatological finality, and universal potentiality. I'm still working that one out. I think I'm with Karl's summary, but we do have to be careful we understand love in the same way the Bible describes it. It is absolutely the centre of the gospel that God is love and that he acts towards creation in love. Our difficulty in communicating this is that our culture defines love in a very different way to biblical love. It's a word used to describe a strong preference. I love ice cream. It's a word that describes our emotions. I love you means I have strong romantic feelings towards you. But there are at least 4 different words for love in the New Testament. Greek is a very precise language. The word for love that describes God's love for us is agape. This has nothing to do with romantic feelings at all. It's about a settled orientation toward the good of the other, a self-forgetfulness that puts others before themselves and is prepared to be sacrificial. So when we read in John chapter 3 and verse 16, God so loved the world, it's not an expression of affection or unconditional positive regard. It's God so agaped the world. And the way in which he did this is the second part of the verse. He gave his only Son, that whosoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life. God's actions of love in the scriptures are often about this provision and rescue, particularly rescue from sin and its consequences. Fortunately, we've discovered much about the workings of the mind in the last 200 years. We know the last thing that people broken by circumstances need to hear from us is a word of condemnation. The language of sin has all too easily been weaponized to single particular groups of people out. But Jesus' harshest words were reserved for religious people, not the prostitutes and lowlife of Palestine. Pharisees were people all too quick to see the faults in others, whilst being oblivious to their own. Faults God clearly regarded as much more serious. I've been doing some soul-searching following the brutal murder of George Floyd. I wonder what Jesus' words to me, to us as comfortable Christians in the Diocese of Hereford might be. Is it worse to tolerate the casual racism often revealed by the remarks we make about other cultures and races than to tear down monuments to criminal injustice in Bristol Docks? Why is it that we can get more agitated that our church buildings aren't open than we do about the injustice that deprives people of opportunities on the basis of their skin colour? Mahatma Gandhi, in his early life in London, seriously considered becoming a Christian after reading the Gospels. He read in Jesus' teaching a way in which the evils of the Indian caste system could be overcome. He visited a local church for Sunday worship, hoping to talk to someone about the faith. But before the service started, one of the sidesmen tapped him on the shoulder and suggested perhaps he should go and worship down the road with his own kind. He left and never went back. He wrote later, If those Christians have their own caste system, I might as well stay a Hindu. Make no mistake, as our archbishops have said, racism is an evil to be rooted out. But I'm not going to point the finger, mainly because I'll find three pointing back at me. With the psalmist, I'm asking, search me, God, and know my heart. Test me and know my anxious thoughts. See if there's any offensive way in me, and lead me in the way everlasting. I may well need to appropriate the love with which God so loved the world, but I'll also need to hear the words of Jesus to the woman caught in adultery. Go and sin no more. Have a good week, and may the love that we have received cause us to love in thought and deed, to love justice more than we love our own comfort, and to see in all people the image of the God who created them.